Let's have a look in more detail at the main development this morning. An object spotted by Chinese satellite 120 kilometres west of where some possible debris was seen again from space earlier this week. Of course, it throws up new clues as well as new challenges for the search teams. In our studio here, we have Anne Peacock, a former pilot. We also have aviation consultant Gideon Ewers and Dr. Simon Boxall, a lecturer in oceanography. Hello to you all. Thanks very much for talking to us. Anne Peacock, to you first, what do you make of today's development?
Well, we've now got quite a wide area that they're searching in, because the original debris was probably found approximately there, and the Chinese debris spotted from a satellite, which is separate from the original debris, is somewhere down here. I mean, this covers the area, but the actual amount of debris would be quite small to scale here that they're looking for.
And Gideon Ewers, we've got this debris that's been identified by a Chinese satellite. We've also had the Australians who've been out searching. They think they've seen smaller pieces of debris, including something that could be a wooden crate. Could that be anything to do with this, or is it more likely to be something from a container ship that's fallen off?
Could be anything. I think the key word here is identify. So far, none of the images from the satellite data that's been seen have been positively identified as anything. They're debris in the ocean. As you say, it could be something from a container ship, it could be something washed from a beach somewhere. It's impossible to say. So far, what we have in the whole story is a huge number of unknowns. And again, for me, this is another set of unknowns. Until it's positively identified,
we are clinging to very, very small bits of information, aren't we, Dr. Simon Boxall? This particular satellite image that we're looking at was taken on Tuesday. What could have happened since then?
Well, I mean, the main flows in the area are part of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current. So although the main flow is moving towards the east, this current has some very complex and convoluted loops and sort of gyres in it. So we can't say for certain it's gone in that direction. What we can say is it's on the move, but we don't know whether it stayed at the surface. And if it is part of a wreckage from an aircraft, there's no reason to say it's still at the surface. There's no reason for it to not to sink after a few days.
Yeah, well, this Chinese satellite image and the discovery of it was revealed by the Malaysian acting transport minister in a dramatic development at today's news conference. Here's what he had to say.
The news that I just received is that the Chinese ambassador received satellite image of floating objects in the southern corridor, and they will be sending ships to verify. The Beijing government will announce this in a couple of hours. This floating object is 22 meters long and 30 meters wide. Sorry? I wouldn't know. This is all I have. Same area? This is all I have.
Well, this is the Chinese satellite image that we've got. Anne Peacock, when you look at it, it's 22.5 metres by 13 metres. Is it plausible, feasible that that could be part of a plane?
It could be. It's a pity we can't look back at the images before the accident happened, if you see what I mean. If they saved them, you know, it'd be very interesting to see whether this was something new which had appeared over the last 10 days or so, or whether it's been there for a while.
It's a very large piece, isn't it? If this does turn out to be something from the plane, what would that tell us about the circumstance in which it came down?
Well, for a start, it would tell us that it was the aeroplane, and I think that would put an awful lot of relatives' minds at rest, because the poor things are worrying that it might have landed somewhere, and all sorts of theories coming up. So if we can identify it as part of this Malaysian Airlines jet, I think that would be enormously helpful.
Gideon Ewers, if you find a large piece of debris and it does turn out to be from the plane and it is that size, that would suggest, would it not, that it wasn't a big mid-air explosion, that this had come down?
Well, again, it's one of those things, even if we had a situation where all the debris for the aircraft was in front of us, even if we had the flight data recorder in front of us, even if we had the cockpit voice recorder in front of us, it would take a team of experts probably about 8 months to a year to determine accurately what happened, and then more importantly, why it happened. So, of course, any wreckage is a vital clue for the investigators, but to determine what it might mean, hard to say.
And at the moment, of course, they've got hardly any clues at all, haven't they? They've got this image. What are they now doing to try and find it?
Well, obviously we have the search that's been talked about with the Australians and backed up by the New Zealanders and the Poseidon aircraft coming down from Okinawa. But the reality is the Australian-New Zealand aircraft, the P-3 Orion, wonderful aeroplane based on the old Lockheed Electra, has enormous range. But even so, by the time they fly from Perth, it doesn't go that quick, it's a turboprop. By the time they fly out from Perth to the search area, they only have a loiter time of 2 hours. If you can imagine the scale of the ocean and only 2 hours to look at it, it's going to be pretty thin odds to discovering stuff, even if you have an absolute pinpoint accuracy.
So the location is making the search difficult just in terms of getting there, but what about the conditions in that location, Dr. Sandvold?
Conditions are deteriorating. They've been relatively lucky over the last couple of days in having relatively calm conditions and moderate visibility. We know there's a typhoon coming down across the middle of the Indian Ocean, which will reduce visibility.
So where is that at the moment? What
That's
do we
sort
know
of coming
about it?
across from this direction.
Right.
That will affect flying conditions. It's likely to bring in more cloud, and that means that the search aircraft need to be beneath the cloud. So it reduces